Good morning. Welcome to AP Computer Science A, and A is for amazing. Today we are going to be covering section 3.4, Booleans and truth tables. First, let's go over Booleans. We're going to be introducing three Boolean operators, or actually Java operators. This is going to be an AND, OR, and NOT. There are other three that we are not going to touch bases on, and I'll talk about it in a few minutes. But make sure that you have your notes with you. Make sure that you have your repo opened up. Make sure that you type in your name. And don't forget to click on submit once you are done so you can get credit for this. So on the last lesson, we talked about if statements. So we know that if we have an if statement, inside there's going to be a Boolean expression. An expression that's going to give you the true or false. And the most basic one that we can have is just the value of true, which means that it's always true, which means that's always going to be entering this statement. And let's type in system.out.print. This line will print. So we'll just say this line will print. And let's go and run it. If we run it, we know that's a true statement, so therefore we know that this will be performed, and it does. We know that if it's a false statement, whatever the statement is, if the statement that you have evaluates to false, then we know that it's not going to enter this line, it's going to skip it altogether, so therefore this line never gets executed and nothing prints out. We have the first Boolean operator that we're going to cover is the NOT. The NOT is going to take the opposite. So therefore, if I just say this is a false, and I'm going to negate it. So I'm going to place an exclamation, and I can place a space or without a space. Let's try with the space first. It's easier to read, but you don't have to have one. So I'm going to run it. The opposite of false is true, so therefore this evaluates to true, so therefore this gets executed. Or if you don't want to have a space in there, the same thing will happen. So that's a negation. And if I change this to true, the opposite of true is false. So the exclamation point is a not. That means that it's going to negate it. The opposite of true is false, so therefore this statement does not get executed. Easy as that. So that is the negation. We'll come back to the negation once we do truth tables and also in a few minutes. So let's go over the other two. Let's go over the AND. Now there's going to be some programming languages that actually when you type in an AND, so if I say true and true, that's how it's going to be typed in some programming languages. In Java, an AND is two AND. Now, there are going to be a few times that you might see one, but we're not going to cover that in this class to make it a little less complex. So for this class, you are going to place two of them. But you might see it once in a while, you might see it once, so just Google it, research it, and then you'll find the difference. Or ask me next time we are in class. This means that whenever you have an AND, they both have to be true. True and true will give you true. So therefore, this line will get executed. The line prints. That means that this evaluates to a true statement. If one of them, whenever you send an AND, if one of them is a false, then true and false, that's a false statement. In order for it to be true, whenever you have an AND, they both have to be true statements. So therefore, this will evaluate to false, which means that nothing will get printed because this statement did not get executed. Even if you have this as true and this one as false, then this line will not get executed once again. In order for that line to be executed, this needs to be evaluated to a true statement. And if you have an and, they both have to be true in order for this to be a true statement. If they both are false, then it doesn't get executed. It's and an and. So I'm going to give you an A if you study and get 100% on the test. In order for you to get an A, they both have to happen, correct? That's an and. Now, in or, if I say true, in some programming languages, ors will be or. In Java, ors are typed in as follows. That is an or. And once again, you might see it with just one. And you're going to say, Diaz lied to us. No, we're just not going to cover this type of expression. But it does exist, just a minor change. But for now, we are just going to keep it with 2. Whenever it's an or, that means that either one of them has to be true or the other, or both, but at least one of them in order for that to be true. So if I press run, this will compute to a true statement, which means that this will be executed, and it does. If I make one of them a false, remember, whenever it's an and, if that's a false, it doesn't get executed because that will turn into a false. But whenever it's an or, at least one of them has to be a true statement, so therefore that is true, so therefore that line gets printed. If this one is true and the first one is false, will this get printed? Yes or no? Yes. At least one of them has to be a true statement. If both of them are false, then nothing happens. At least one of them has to be true whenever you have a or. If you have an and, they both have to be true. If you have an or, only one of them, or both, at least one. So how will this help us, Diaz? You said that this was essential, that this is going to make our life easier. So if you go back to the code that we did before, on the last set of notes, remember this code here. I'm going to go ahead and just grab it. Or actually, let's go ahead and talk about it for now. Remember that we talked about that if it's greater than 90 or equal to 90, it's going to print this. Else, if it's greater or equal to 80, it's going to print this. Else. So this gets a little more challenging to read through, kind of more prone to errors. So instead, we're just going to do a quick if statement, and we're going to use the and. So let's go and do a import statement for your scanner. So let's go and do import Java the utility the scanner. So that way we can actually use that class, because that's not one of the files that we have in here. It's we're going to use a scanner class, and let's get rid of this lines here. Well, actually, I'm just going to comment in them out. So if you can just comment in them out, that'll be great. It's a good practice to do this. Sometimes we're not too sure what a block of code, what's happening there, or if it's messing up the rest of our program. So we can just comment it out and leave it behind. So now let's go and do a object of the scanner class. So let's go and do scanner. Scan will be the variable name, will be the object, equal to new scanner. We call in the constructor, and we are taking input from the keyboard. Remember that in this case, we are creating an object of type of scanner, class type scanner. So this is not a primitive, but this is a class type. The object is scan of the scanner class. And now let's go say, please enter your name, same as before. And once again, we're going to deal with integers. Int grade equal to, this is a non-static class, so therefore we need the handle, the object name, scan, in order to be able to use the method next int. We know that this is a next int is a method. We know that because of the parentheses that we have here. We'll talk more in the next few chapters. And now we're going to say if your grade is, we want it to be, what is it going to be in A? If it's greater or equal to 90, then we're going to say then that it will be system.out.println. You have an A. Now let's go and take care of the B. We know the B's are between 80 and 90. So if grade is greater or equal to 80 and your grade is less than or equal to 89, then we're going to say you have a B. So notice that in this case, this might be a little easier to read than the other code that we had before. And now we can do that for each of the cases. So this is going to execute only if your grade is between 80 or equal to 80 and less than 89. So let's go and try it out, or then that way we don't have to type in the rest. You get the idea. Well, actually we might. So in this case we have, if I say 85, you have a B. If I say you have a 95, you have a A. And then we can go through each of the cases. So let's continue with the other cases. If grade is greater or equal to 70 and grade is less than or equal to 79. So one of the things that you do have to be careful is just those border lines. For example, do I need to include the 70 or not? So that's something that you kind of have to be a little careful. In this case, it's C, means that it's going to be a and the last one will be if grade, or not the last one, equal to 60 and grade is less than or equal to 69. Then we're going to say you have A. You have a D. Else, no, we're just going to say if. You can't use, in this case, you can't use an else in here. So some of you guys might be tempted to say, well, that's the last one, so therefore you just use a else statement here. Then be careful, because if, and let's try that out, right? Let's just see what happens. System.out.println, you have an F. So let's go and run it and see. Let's go and type in a 90. Any errors? No. Let's type in a 92. So notice that it prints the A that we wanted, but because the 92, this is false, therefore it'll go to this statement and it'll print this statement every single time. Even if you have a 85%, we're not supposed to have the last line. But if you have a 65%, that will be correct. You have a D, you will not print this line. So this is not correct. So just be careful. If you're going to do it in this format, then you just need to take the time to be able to do the last if statement. Say if grade is less than or equal to 60, then I have a mistake error, right? It should not be equal. It should be less than 60, then you have enough. And now it will work. you have a 95, you only have a B. So notice that this might be easier to read than all of this embedded if else statements. So that's one way that we can use an and. It's in a very efficient way. Another one that if you want to be able to research that, did not get a chance to type in your notes, and I'll include them next time, are switch statements. So you just have to Google it. They're very easy to use, but I'll introduce switch statements once we go into loops, because that's when I'm going to be introducing a break and continue statements. But for now, if you want to look up switch statements, we'll do this for you in a much easier manner. Now, let's go and keep this, and this is also in your notes that I do want to go over. One of the things that you have to be careful is what is the opposite. So if we want to be able to have a statement say if your grade is something or two of them, then we're going to say your grade is not a B. So therefore, what is the opposite? If between 80 and 89 is a B, what is not a B? Then that will be grade is less than 80, correct? That's not a B. Or your grade is greater than 89, that is not a B. So therefore, if I press run, if I type in a 85, you have a B. I press run, and I type in a 60, you do not have a B. So because 60 will make this statement true, it won't make this statement true, but for whenever we have an OR, we only need one of them. So that's a way to be able to use an OR. Now, if we actually negate it, if we take the opposite of this statement and we negate it, then if you do not have a B, what's the opposite? That means that you do have a B, right? So therefore, you do have a B. That is going to be you have a B. So therefore, if I type in an 85, now it should print a you have a B twice. This negation is going to negate this statement, which was the opposite of that statement, which means that now because we negate it, it's going to be exactly the same. So just careful with negations. We are going to come back to negations on the next section, and hopefully it'll make a little more sense. So just be careful. If you're going to use a negation, you have to be a little more careful. We're going to be able to find a way to be able to simplify on the next section. Any questions? But most of the time we try not to make it as challenging, because then if we do need to be able to print that statement, we might as well do it this way rather than with a negation. So therefore you do not have a B. We'll leave it as this. If I run it, type in a 85, you have a B. Run it, type in a 100, you do not have a B. So that's how we use the AND and the OR. Another thing that we need to talk about in this section are truth tables. So let me go switch over to my Elmo. Truth tables I use in electronics. So let's see, can we see my Elmo? Interesting. There we go. Here I am. So therefore, let's look at your notes. And we are working with this page here. Let me make myself smaller. this one here. So truth tables are used in computer science, and they're also used in computer in electrical engineering. I'll go through that in a second. We can evaluate Boolean statements using truth tables. The truth tables are a way of looking at all possible values of the variables and determining the value of a whole statement. Suppose you have two conditions, A and B, where A can be written as x is equal to 45, and B can be written as x is less than 22, with the keyword or in between, where this is your A value, whether that's true or false, and this is your B value, whether that's true or false. And we need to be able to determine all the possible combinations that a OR statement is going to produce. So you should have a ruler with you. And this is the way that we're going to evaluate your truth tables. And you have to do this on every single question. You see this. Some of you guys are not, I should make myself big for this, because some of you are going to refuse to do a truth table. And Diaz is going to get very upset because you guys are going to get those easy questions on your AP exam wrong by refusing to do a little bit of work. So please do a truth table. Even if you think the question is easy, those easy questions are going to be pushing you guys to a 5. So make sure that you guys do the work. Do not skip this step. We're going to do a truth table. So I'm going to place a line here. I need 4. Well, actually, for this one, I just need 3. I need 1 for my A, which is here. I need 1 for my B, which is here. And the other one will be A or B. I'll place a line across. Make sure I have enough space. This will be your A. In this, if it is x equal 45, that will give you a true or false statement. B, x is less than 22, that will give you a true or false statement. Now we need to be able to find all the different combinations. What we're going to do for true statement and for false. If it's a true statement, we use a 1. If it's a false, we use a 0. So you have to memorize that. True is a 1, false is a 0. On and off. 1. A can be a 1 and B can be a 1. That's one combination. Another combination is that this can be true and B can be false. What's another combination? A can be false and B can be true. I'm missing 1. Which is the last one? Correct. True, false, and false. So you guys were messing me up. So therefore, let's go and practice a few more, because it's a good way to be able to just practice this combinations of A and B. So on the side, write down A and B. So to be able to come up with all the combinations is a very easy process. You just do 1, 1, 0, 0. Then for the B, 1, 0, 1, 0. And that will give you all the combinations. It can be true and true, true and false, false and true, false and false. Let's try once again. To get all the combinations is a very easy process. How do we start? 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. That will give you all the possible combinations. True, 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 false. False, true, false, false. Let's try. Let's do it twice more. And I do need to see this on your paper. When you guys take a picture with your summary, I'll be looking for this work. So you have AB. So So true, true, false, false, true, false, true, false. Once again, we have A, B. B. Got it? 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. That will give you all the different combinations. So now that we have that, now we are looking for A or B. Now remember, what happens whenever you have A or B? What happens when you have an OR? When will it be true? ORs will be true when you have at least one true. So true or true will give you true. True or false, whenever it's an OR, you just need one of them to be true. So in this case, it will be true. Whenever it's an OR, you just need one of them to be a true statement. So therefore, that one, if that one's true, then that will be a true statement. If it has a false and a false, that'll give you a false. So those are the possible combinations, possible values for this statement. Let's try two more. Let's try this one here first, and then we'll do one more, and then we'll call it a day. First, you need to be able to build your truth table. Just your basic. And I start just by doing the following. A, B. Now I'm going to do all the different combinations. 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. That will give me all the different combinations. True, 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 false. False, true, false, false. I need to do this in several steps. I'm going to perform what's inside first. A and B. And then once I do A and B, then I can go ahead and negate that statement, and now I can actually do not A and B. So let's do the and first. Remember, in order for it to be true, they both have to be true, both of them. So whenever you have an and. So I know true and true will give me true. True and false, that gives you false. In order for it to be true, both of them have to be true. So the only time that you'll get a true statement is on the first one. Do you agree? Now, this means that you're going to negate it. We are negating this statement here, which is this one here. So therefore, we're just going to take the opposite. The opposite of true is false. The opposite of false is true. The opposite of false is true. The opposite of false is true. Now, on your AP exam, one of the questions is, which of them will give you a false statement? Which will give you a false value for this statement here? And that will be only when A and B are true. Only when both of them are true is when this statement will be false. Easy as that. Let's try one more, and then we'll call it a day. On the side, we are going to have, I want to be able to evaluate the following statement. Not A and B. And I want to be able to find all the possible combinations. So let's go and start with our process. And I do need to see your process. So I do need to be able to see your process. First, is it tedious? Maybe. It's not too bad. If this is going to push you to a 5 on your AP exam, and for those of you guys that get a 4 because you refuse to do this small little work, which is a quick table, I'm going to be very upset because I'll get your results. We have A. We always start with A and B, and we always make all the different combinations. Let's try it. 1, 1, 0, 0. What goes in this column? 1, 0, 1, 0. Now, we are going to take this apart. We have to evaluate this first. On the previous one, we evaluated what was inside the parentheses, just like order of operations. So therefore, the next thing that I need to evaluate is not A. So therefore, the opposite, we're going to negate A. The opposite of true is false. The opposite of true is false. We're going to negate just that part. Opposite of 0 is 1. Opposite of 0 is 1. Now, if you want, you can write B right next to it. But since it's an AND, we automatically can see. Now, we're going to get the entire statement. And it's an AND. We are looking at those two. Now, sometimes you might be looking at the first one and the last one. And you just need to be able to get a piece of paper and then cover up the middle one so you can focus. In this case, I'm just going to cover this one up because I want to be able to find out when is it going to be a true statement, when is it going to be false. We know it's going to be a true statement every time it's going to be both of them are true. So that is a false, that is a false, bingo, true, and that is a false. So one of the questions might be, when do you get a true statement? When is this evaluated to a true statement? And your answer will be when A is true and B is false, will get evaluated to a true statement. Any questions? But before we finish this lesson, for those of you guys that are going to be electrical engineers, and that's what you're planning to do, you're going to be using truth tables whenever you are building circuits. And if, let me make myself a little larger. So if you are making circuits or using transistors, you are going to be building diagrams to be able to see when is it going to turn on or off, depending on the switches. And in order to be able to determine that, you're going to be building truth tables. So for example, this is an AND gate. That is the notation. So a false and a false gives you a false, a false and a true gives you a false, if true and a false gives you a false. And we know that whenever it's an AND gate, in order for it to be true, they both have to be true. And then from there, you can go and I'll place this link in there so I don't take too much of your time. Our goal is that whenever we take your AP exam, we're going to be using breadboards with some jumper cables to be able to have some of the LEDs, and also be able to build with the Raspberry Pi, be able to build a little motorized control remote robot. So that is our goal, but we'll get to this once you guys pass your AP exam. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Email me if you have any questions. Have a great day.